We have headphones in case we want to take some phone calls there. We can get those to them. Now, so you mentioned off mic that you haven't had a chance to listen to a lot of the show today, and let me sort of get you up to speed on this. I had not addressed at all. The only addressing of Jose Garania's story that I'd done on the show prior to today had come from Layla Tang from Kagan on your side, and I hadn't talked about it simply because there hadn't been enough details, in my opinion, or all the facts hadn't come out in the situation to warrant an opinion on either front, an opinion about the actions of SWAT, which is essentially the multiple entities of Sarita, Oro Valley, Marana Police, and the Sheriff's Department, whether or not Jose Garania was guilty or innocent of whatever actions or he's been completely accused of doing or was completely accused of doing. And so I was simply waiting for more of the details to emerge in this. What prompted me to talk about this today was the email that you sent, which I got last week. And even then, I didn't like and I'll let you respond in kind of all this. I didn't like the use of the terminology of policies that routinely lead to heavily armed, militarized local police. To me, that's the same kind of, and it is rhetoric if we use that term. It's inflammatory that's used by open border crowds, Derechos Humanos, and the like. Especially not before we have all the details and facts of this investigation. Now, even then, okay, I got in the email, I saw it, and I did a bit of a cringe move, and I went, that's kind of where I left it. And you and I even hung out and enjoyed, enjoyed lunch together at the Pima GOP Weekend of the Warrior, and we didn't even talk about it. But I started getting email responses based off of your email from the Pima County GOP in regards to this. I saw your comments up on Facebook as well, and what I'm seeing occurring now is very similar to what occurred when in January 8th happened, when Pima County Sheriff, an individual also in a leadership position, made statements off of what he believed were motivations by Jared Loeffner of talk radio, vitriol, and rhetoric. And I see a similar circumstance here where you've got Dupnik saying this, leading people down a road that may or may not have been true at the time, and then you have who's in a position of leadership, and now we have Pima County GOP chair sending out an email from the Pima County GOP that is also doing something similar, and it's leading people to conclusions based off of conjecture that you have or opinion that you have. So multiple levels here. Okay, I don't think it's appropriate that you use Pima County Republican Party email list to send this out to ask people to come to this Oath Keepers event. Let's just go ahead and start from there, and I'll let you respond in kind to sort of what I've laid out, because you haven't had a chance to listen to the whole show today.
Okay. So, I didn't get to take all the notes I want because I couldn't find my pen. But motivations, I haven't speculated on any motivations. I've never mentioned Clarence Dupnik in public. This has little to do with Clarence Dupnik directly.
Sure.
Obviously it does, because the buck stops with him on whether or not this action takes place.
Right.
But that is left for, as you say, when all the evidence comes in.
Right.
My point in this is very simply this. Law enforcement chose to execute this search warrant, not an arrest warrant, after 20 months of investigation.
Okay.
Now we know that even. They chose the most dangerous possible time, place, and method to serve this search warrant. I am not calling for prosecutions of officers. I'm not calling for Clarence Dupnik. I'm not, because I don't know those little intricacies as well. There's going to be scores of pages that come out on investigation. Go ahead.
Well, let me stop there. How do you know this was the wrong time for them to go in? I mean, that's pure opinion on your part.
No, I didn't say it was. Well, first of all, I didn't say the wrong time.
Okay.
I said they picked the most dangerous time, place, and method to do it.
Based off of what information that you have that says that. I mean, why is that? Tell me why that this is the most dangerous time to do this.
This is not my primary. Okay, fine. Well, 20 months of surveillance on this case, 20 months of looking at this case, and they chose to do it at a time in a condensed neighborhood, immediately after he's gone to sleep, where the potential is he's groggy, his wife and kid are home.
Do they know he's gone to sleep?
How do they not? Oh, no, okay, whatever. He's coming after. No, they don't. They probably don't know that.
Okay.
He's coming after a 12-hour shift.
So couldn't you easily make the argument that happened to happen at what, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning?
9:30.
Okay, well, couldn't you make the argument that perhaps SWAT went in at that time because most people in the neighborhood are going to be at work or people will be at school, so more than likely that's the time of day when there will be the fewest amount of people when the house is nearby?
Well, you could make that argument. My argument is this: is that how hard is it to conceive of a safer, less risky position to put both the officers in and innocent civilians? You can,
but I'm not law enforcement, and you're not law enforcement. So how can you make a judgment call?
John, this is a discussion about the use of excessive force. Yes, I'll say excessive militarized force by local law enforcement that's been on the up ramp over these last 30 years. It's about our paradigm that we live in, that we say we need to have militarized local police forces enforcing laws and not operating as peace officers, but primarily as agents of government that have the legal authority, though I would argue not the moral authority, to break down doors and houses and violently serve search warrants when obviously and clearly there could have been better, safer, less violent ways to do this.
I don't agree, obviously and clearly, because you and I are law enforcement officers, and we're not privy to all of the information that those officers were given. And to go and say this is a ramp-up, are you saying that we can't, don't you believe that we need to look at these on a case-by-case basis? If you don't have all the details of what SWAT thought they were going to be faced with when they determined that they were going to choose this time and this place to go and serve this warrant, how can you possibly say whether or not they were justified in their actions without knowing all the details, without being there firsthand, without standing there side by side with the officers when they went in and knocked the door down and the shooting occurred?
Well, you can look at the video, as I'm sure you have. If you look at the video, if you look at all the things that are now known, if you look at the timeline of the video, how long it was between the time the siren went off, the time they knocked, by the time the door was breached, to the time, 4.5 seconds between the time the first guy possibly, it's hard to tell, went in and started shooting. But again, these are the details that will get hashed out in the investigation. And while first off, I didn't mention, let me do real quick, draw a delineation here if I can, between what was sent out with Pima GOP header on it,
sure,
which everything in there is factually stated, except for when I said it is my hope that this will lead to a new discussion of the policies that lead to these kind of instances. So that is my hope. That is a hope. Being a local political guy, that's a hope of mine. I think that's legitimate, that we have a discussion about how law enforcement is used, why people are put at risk. You have bullets flying around a neighborhood. I mean, I don't want to get into what the other observations I've seen on that video, but check me out on Facebook. You can go to my note that I posted, a couple notes. I posted one last night too. But I mean, there's just a litany of things that's now not even argued by the defense or by the SWAT lawyers. But beyond that, it's about policy. It's about the fact that not only did the policy put Vanessa Horeña and her child at risk, and not only did it put the neighbors at risk, but we put the officers needlessly at risk.
But you don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that?
You don't know all the facets of the details of what they were going to search his house for. You don't know exactly what Jose Guarena may or may not have been involved in. So much of this is going off of pure speculation without having all the details. Let me get back to the Pima County GOP email here, because you say politically unaffiliated, nonpartisan groups for this Memorial Day event. How can you send this out on Pima GOP letterhead, if you will, via email, and not expect it to be politically affiliated? I mean, you sent it out to the email blast of the members of the GOP.
Because I think they should be aware of a killing in their community that is breaching the line of protecting and serving into invading.
In your opinion, breaching the line. But you're using the Pima. Is this an official stance of the Pima County GOP now? What I put in this, there's nothing in this email that is even controversial, I gotta say. You don't think saying militarized local police routinely lead heavily armed militarized local police into invading private homes isn't controversial?
Is that true?
I don't know if that's true. You didn't lay it out in the email.
Because this
is the same kind of rhetoric that Open Borders Group used. Militarization of local police.
I'll tell you what, John. If I didn't send this out now, and we waited until the very end of this, nobody would be talking about this. We wouldn't be talking about the use of heavily armed local police.
But you've gotten people fired up.
Yes.
Now hold on a second. You've gotten people fired up and who are drawing conclusions off of this without having all the facts and details come out. That's the problem that I have. What harm would it have been to wait until all the details emerged in this event so we had a clearer understanding of what had taken place, where perhaps your opinion might change, that this wasn't excessive use of force, that the police were absolutely justified in what they were doing, and at the end of the day, then you could sit back and have a discussion going on. Instead, there is a lot of opinion flying right now, and people are getting outraged and all up in arms without having all the facts about this. You're in a position of leadership here.
John, again, this is not specifically about this raid. This raid is an example of the larger problem of policy which leads to heavily armed local police forces doing no-knock and quick-knock searches on private residences. And I know you said I didn't lay it on the email, but my goodness, if we could lay out 20 years of investigation as to the botched SWAT raids, and where innocent people are shot and killed, where innocent people are injured, where wrong homes are gone into, where an informant's information is complete BS, you can go online and do that for yourself, but I can't lay that all out.
But listen, do you not see that the way you are laying this out is exactly the same way that Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick laid out his argument that Jared Lofter's motivations on January 8th were because of talk radio, vitriol, and rhetoric.
No, I'm not commenting on motivation. I'm commenting on policy.
But you're trying to spark a discussion based off of singular event that we don't have details off of, and trying to relate it to other events when you don't have all the facts to say that this event had anything to do with the militarization of local police. We don't have all the facts.
Well, I can assure you that they wouldn't have knocked down the door and went in with 71 shots in 7 seconds if they weren't heavily armed and militarized.
But don't you see that as inflammatory?
Well, sometimes the truth is inflammatory, John.
But it's the same. Look, it's the same thing as.
For God's sake, your station's name is The Truth. Here's the truth. Initially, Pima County, again, this is kind of secondary, but initially, Pima County Sheriff's Office said Jose shot first. No, he didn't. I mean, they now admit. So you tell me, what happened that they initially said he shot first?
I don't know. And as I explained earlier this morning,
I don't know either. But if that doesn't raise the hair on the back of your neck?
Well, sure. I'm not questioning whether or not there were inappropriate things that took place. I don't know if police used appropriate force or didn't, and I don't know if Jose Gorenia was innocent or not. What I do know is that you, as the head of the Pima County GOP, as the chairman, used the Pima County GOP email blast to try to spark this discussion based off of this event that we don't know all the details off of.
Well, okay, based on, let's assume that what you said is perfectly accurate, which I would have a little bit of contention with. But even if you can start a discussion that has to do with preserving your liberty, that has to do with maintaining the rule of law, that has to do with enforcing the constitutional rights in the amendments therein, shouldn't you take that opportunity as a local political figure? Because I'm not calling for an incarceration of units or SWAT. This is not about them. This is a fact that we put up a policy in place. We have been too quiet as citizens and allow this to happen, where now we have our thin blue line showing up in the fatal funnel, serving a quick knock search warrant in a man's doorway, where the one thing according to the Pima County Sheriff's Department spokesman, the one reason they went in heavily armed is because he was a suspected gun owner.
This is what we have to take a break, but this is why. No, I don't believe you should. I don't believe this should have happened, because we don't know all the facts and details of this event, and it's causing people to come to conclusions and rush to judgment over that which we are not aware of. Okay? It's the same thing that happened when Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick blamed talk radio, vitriol, and hatred. Right? When he had no evidence on Jared Lofter. And what did it do? It caused a bunch of people to jump to conclusions and run to speculation and demonize individuals who had nothing to do with what took place on January 8th in Jared Lofter. The same thing has happened here. Okay, I understand your motivation, but the problem is that you used an event that we don't have all the facts for yet. And you used it to spark a discussion that has now prompted individuals to go rushing to conclusions on this particular event where we don't have all the facts yet. So no, you in my opinion, you shouldn't have done it. It was an abuse, in my opinion, of the power that you have with the Pima County GOP.
I can only tell you, John, the first sentence of my second paragraph is I say, while an investigation is still underway to determine the facts.
Sure, that's fine. No, that's fine. I'm glad that you put that in there. It doesn't change my opinion over it.
Yeah, but it also doesn't change the other facts I laid out in here. And what we know is enough for me to conclude that we have a problem nationally. I mean, good Lord.
Pima County Sheriff Clarence Dupnick was responsible, in my opinion, for the misguided notion that Jared Loeffner was inspired by talk radio, hatred, vitriol taking place in southern Arizona. He was wrong in that assessment. In this circumstance, okay.
What am I saying? I mean, you're saying that I'm putting something out there that I'm saying the SWAT was wrong?
No. I'm saying what you're doing is you're using an event that we don't know all the facts and figures that's prompting people to rush to judgment on this because you're piggybacking this off of another issue that you have that you want to bring attention to that may not have anything to do with this event. The militarization of police, okay, that routinely lead to heavily armed militarized police invading private homes, okay, that issue may be an important one that needs to be addressed. What I'm saying is this particular circumstance may have nothing to do with that because we don't have all the facts yet.
John, this was a heavily armed local police force that invaded a private home. I mean, it is the example of a larger issue. It is example gratis, e.g., what happened in Jose
because you believe that the events that took place were wrong.
I believe that the policies that allowed those events to take place are wrong.
You believe that the events that take place, the policies were wrong.
And the policies that put those SWAT members in that man's doorway
without knowing any of the facts of exactly why they went there.
Because it doesn't matter. If he is a murderer, if Jose was a murderer, which we'll never know because you can't try someone posthumously. The man died legally. The man died innocent. Now his name is going to be dragged through the mud by.
Nobody has done that yet.
Oh, come on. The union lawyer.
Okay, I haven't heard from the union lawyer.
Anyway, you know that's going to happen. But regardless, Jose Lorenzo will never stand trial. He have died an innocent man. And what you're arguing.
You don't know that he'll die an innocent man.
He died an innocent man.
How is that? How do you know that?
Are you familiar with the concept? Guilty? Did he have?
Have you argued for all the other individuals who have died at the hands of law enforcement who may have had an assumption of some kind of guilt when law enforcement has come face to face with them that was involved in an altercation where law enforcement was threatened and gunned that person down? The same circumstance happens all the time in circumstances like that, and we don't ever hear any cries about presumed innocence and the guy never has his day in court.
Well, that's because it's difficult to make this case because we have so many law enforcement apologists who immediately think that they can do no wrong. Everybody can make a mistake.
We got to take a break. 751-1041 is the phone number. More of the John Justice Show coming up on 1041 The Truth, Tucson's News Talk FM.
Live traffic now on 1041 The Truth.
5-2, I'm Big Al with a wreck at Alvernon Way and Grant Road. Grant Road in Alvernon. No fender benders other than that one. The freeway is excellent, and our photo enforcement on Harrison between